This is the best of the week on Relevant Radio.
Hey, we're off and running. Welcome to Marriage Unhindered. I'm your host, Doug Hindered, licensed marriage and family therapist, here to talk to you about all things marriage, family related. Welcome. Talking about how to get your spouse into therapy. 5 steps if your partner is reluctant to go to therapy. I got this off the Gottman website, Gottman blog. And I think it's really quite good. So basically what they say is, listen, when approaching your partner about attending, and they always use the word partner because whatever, so your spouse, about attending, your heterosexual spouse, about attending couples therapy, you're likely to meet resistance. Okay, not unusual. That's kind of the norm, right? So you can work past that resistance with these 5 tips that come from Gottman. So relationship challenges are inevitable, right? When both partners are willing to face the challenges hand in hand and work together to find win-win solutions, most problems can be managed. Absolute fact, right? But sometimes couples lack the skills and the tools to work through even solvable problems in a relationship. Fact, which is where the therapist comes in. So when approaching your partner about attending couples therapy, you're likely to meet some resistance. And people have misconceptions about couples therapy. I just read through a whole bunch of those. Some couples may use therapy as a last-ditch effort rather than a preventative approach to improving a relationship. Gottman's research on thousands of couples concluded that couples often wait 6 years before seeking help on their marital issues. That's a really, really big mistake. Therapy should never be a last ditch because what happens is at that point, one of them, their heart has turned to stone, you or your spouse, and that's almost impossible to breathe life into a stone, okay? Don't wait. And it's a wonderful preventative, right? I mean, we go to the doctor, you get a physical every year, you get checkups, you do all kinds of preventative health things for your body, which is just going to turn into worm food after you die. But your marriage, the most important thing in your life, we don't do preventative. We don't go for checkups. I think it's just, we need to really change that model, right? Sometimes therapists are contacted after one partner has already emotionally separated. So true, especially if you're waiting too long. That makes for an extreme challenge, oftentimes an insurmountable challenge, in my opinion. That's the deal, right? So I just want to encourage you to just stop and think for a minute. Why would your spouse want to go to marriage counseling? If your spouse comes to you and says, I think we need marriage counseling, why would they say that? At the end of the day, they think something is broken and they don't know how to fix it. You need to really listen. You need to really listen if your spouse says we need to go to therapy again, all right? All right, step 1, you need to connect emotionally. Saying something like, hey, we need serious help, we're really in trouble, is not going to motivate your partner to attend couples therapy. Becoming angry and manipulating them is going to lead to resentment and withdrawal. Not going to lead for them to say, wow, okay, you're really angry, saying these really hard things. I guess I'll go to therapy. Not going to happen. You need to be smart about when and how you bring up the idea, right? As you'll learn in couples therapy, it's not what you fight about, but how you fight that determines the success of the conflict resolution. What Gottman's research found is that when partners start a conversation aggressively, it ends aggressively 96% of the time. So if you're starting from a place of anger, man, it's just not going to end well, okay? So before proposing couples therapy, Gottman recommends that you connect emotionally first, right? To make your spouse feel appreciated and cared for. Maybe even have some fun, right? So watch a comedy movie together, cook dinner together, play a card game or some board game or go miniature golfing, right? Verbalize 5 things about your partner that you really appreciate. Okay, to get them into a good place emotionally. By doing this, you're helping your partner feel that they matter to you, which will support them in being more open and calm and receptive, okay? When you do have the conversation, make sure it's a time that's convenient for your spouse. Don't do it right before work or when they're stressed out or exhausted or right before bedtime. A really bad time to get into a serious conversation is when you're climbing into bed. All right, step 1, connect emotionally. Step 2, propose the conversation. Now, okay, so now it's time to ask if they want to talk about the relationship. So here's a 3-step example. Honey, I want to have a conversation with you about what you want for our relationship, for our marriage. I want you to feel as though you're enough for me, that I accept you for who you are, And I want you to feel that this is a great relationship and a great marriage. Would you be willing to have a quick conversation with me about that? When you do that and follow the steps, make sure to speak in a gentle voice, focusing on sharing your experience, okay? That keeps your partner relaxed and keeps them away from being defensive. If you know your partner is resistant to talking about anything regarding your relationship, which happens, you can write a love letter. I love that idea. Such a letter can be particularly helpful with an avoidant partner or an avoidant spouse, right, as it gives them time to process and move forward on their own terms while they're reading the letter and thinking about it, and they don't have to respond immediately. However, the letter should be worded in such a way to invite conversation, not to replace it, right? So letter wants to get a conversation going as opposed to we're going to have the conversation in writing. If you're the anxious spouse, it's helpful to focus on saying no more than 3 sentences and then pausing when proposing the ideas of attending couples therapy, all right? Giving your partner time to think and respond. Anxious spouses tend to enjoy talking everything out, but when left to their own devices, they tend to repeat themselves sometimes 10 to 15 minutes before giving their partner a chance to say anything. Here's the rule of thumb. Once it's clear, don't make it clearer, okay? And I learned that from a business partner of mine a while back who runs the Brief Lab, who teaches executives how to communicate effective messages very briefly, Joe McCormick. And one of his mantras, which I embrace wholeheartedly, once it's clear, don't make it clear. Once you've made your point, be quiet, stop. You've already said it. The more you talk, the greater the chances you're going to say something that's going to irritate the situation, all right? So propose the conversation. Now, step 3, find the gap. Now that both of you are sitting down to talk, focus on learning more about your partner's view of the relationship and what he or she wants. It will be impossible to inspire him or her to attend couples therapy if they don't know what they want to get out of the relationship, what they want out of the marriage, or they can't see how therapy will help them have a better relationship with you, okay? So this could be initiated with a question such as, sweetheart, I'm curious, if our relationship was good, what would our relationship feel like for you? Okay? What might we do more of or less of? How might things be different? Here's another rule. Seek first to understand. I want to understand you. I want to understand what you want out of this marriage. I want to understand what you want from me. I want to understand, not judgmentally, but with an open mind to say, if I know what you want, I will give it to you. I promise. I just got to get curious about that, right? So let's say your partner says something like, well, I want you to stop causing all these fights. You always have an issue. So they attack you. Well, if your spouse starts blaming you, realize this is an expression of their pain and seek to find what Gottman calls the hidden need. What's beneath the pain? Focus on listening non-defensively and reflecting and empathizing with what your spouse is saying, what the underlying feelings are. Ask open-ended questions. Get curious, not defensive. There's the curious word again, okay? Respond to any accusations with gentleness and curiosity. There's the curious word again. I hear you saying you're burnt out from us fighting all the time. Me too. If we could resolve our problems and stop fighting all the time, how do you think that would change our relationship? How do you think that would change our marriage? Once you have an understanding of what your partner wants in the marriage, begin searching for what's holding your relationship back from being that way right now. So things like, I totally understand how difficult all this fighting is for you. I'm curious, what do you think is stopping our marriage and stopping us from having fewer fights, resolving our issues, and enjoying each other more? Truly listen non-defensively about what they believe is in the way. It may be different from your own conclusions. That's normal. If you feel like you're not understanding the blocks in your partner, ask more open-ended questions, all right? And then 4, bridge the couple's chasm. Bridge the chasm. Now you want to bridge the gap between where you are to the type of relationship that you and your spouse want. When doing this, focus the conversation on wanting to improve the relationship, not on changing your partner. That is big, big, big. This is not about me fixing you or the therapist fixing you. This is about improving our relationship. When you come to see a therapist, the therapist will tell you it's your relationship that is my client, not the husband or the wife, okay? So it's not about you getting fixed. It's about us improving our relationship, okay? You're going to have more success highlighting that couples therapy is about changing patterns of behavior and interaction, repairing our bond, strengthening our relationship, than saying something like, well, you're the one who needs help. You're the one who needs to be fixed. You're all messed up, okay? Then name the benefits that you and your spouse could have if you attend couples therapy and how it could improve your relationship. Something like, sweetheart, I want us to attend couples therapy. That's designed to help us communicate better. I'm excited about it because I think it will help me understand more about you and help you understand more about me. And the result, I think, will be fewer fights, more intimacy, and feeling happier all the way around, okay? Does that sound like the kind of relationship you would like, kind of marriage you would like, all right? And then step 5, invite. Now it's time to invite your spouse to attend couples therapy with you in an open way that does not pressure them to participate. Want to request that your spouse joins you rather than demand it of them, all right? Dr. Rosenberg, the author of Nonviolent Communication, highlights the requests become demands when our partner believes that they will be blamed or punished if they don't comply, all right? So don't suggest that, all right? Thus, you will want to present therapy as a choice. I love you, and our marriage is very important to me. I think couples therapy could stop the nasty fighting, allow us to grow closer and feel happier. I'd love to have you join me. But you're free to say no if you choose, okay? The response can be something like, yes, but I have questions, or no, right? If yes, kiss them and say, boom, let me see if I can find a good therapist. If they have questions, well, you have more conversation to have. If they say no, okay, don't take your disappointment on them. Say, thank you for being honest with me about that, and I appreciate that. And then I think if the answer is no, then I think more questions like, would you be willing to share with me why you're choosing not to do this, right? I think it could really help. Could you tell me why you don't think so? Do your best to address those concerns, honestly, without pressuring them. And then if you can get that cleared up, fine. If they still say no, well, then let them think about it for a few days, and they may change their mind. So be patient, okay? And let them take their time. This entire episode of Marriage Unhindered is on the updated Relevant Radio app. The Relevant Radio app is completely free and updated daily with fresh articles, podcasts, and prayers.